Alright, we've pulled a shaft off an Artisan club head, a boutique iron from Texas. Now it's time to put in a new shaft. Now, this one's not your everyday installation. You're going to want to see what we're doing. Welcome back to the McGolf Shop. Jim McCleary here, and this is the McGolf channel where we talk about golf club repairs, golf club reviews, and golf club fittings, all so your scores can go low. If you would, like, subscribe, hit that stuff across the bottom. That way more of this information gets out to the YouTube universe. We also have a live stream. It's on Mondays. It's called What's in My Drawers Golf Talk. And it's about the same stuff. It's live. You get to talk to me directly. And it's at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, 17:30 for those of you on the other side of the pond. I think you're going to like it. Join us. Installation of a shaft. We're going to install a shaft. Now, when we pulled these out, we measured the hosel. We saw that, right? It might be in the video up here. Now, we found out it was a taper-tipped hosel, or 355, okay? These are, we are installing Axiom shafts. Axiom shafts are from Fujikura. These are the 75 R2, which means they're kind of what you would call a stiff regular, okay? Axiom is made in a different way. The Axiom is actually a technology in how Fuji weaves the shaft. Now, what makes this thing different? Two things. Number one, they come in discrete lengths for discrete length of club. They make a set of shafts for the tall end, say 3, 4, and 5, and then they have a middle iron, which could be 6, 7, 8, or even 6 and 7, whatever that number might be, and then they have a short iron, so 8, 9, and the wedges. And so you have to make sure, and you got to go to the Fuji website to make sure that you're selecting the correct one, okay? In this case, it starts at the 8, it's 6, 7, 8, and 9. So 6 and 7 are what we call the middle irons. The 8 and 9 are the short irons. That's by the website. The other thing is they come in a 370 tip, and that's going to throw a lot of folks off. Well, Jim, that can't go in. Well, you'd be right, but we're going to make them fit. Now, there's two ways of making this thing fit. One, you could ream them out, okay? And I almost did that on this one because the clubs are going to be extra long, and taking a little bit of weight out is not going to be a problem. However, I wanted to show you how this installation is supposed to work. So I've already done one just to see how much material I'd have to take off. Now, this is called coning or tapering the shaft. Now, you know, a lot of people don't recommend that, and I wouldn't either based on the shaft. However, on the website, Fujikura says it's okay to do it. If Fuji says it's okay to do it, I'm good to go. These guys are pretty good at what they do. So what are we going to do? So in a taper tip, the whole thing is just not tapered, okay? About this much of this shaft is going to be tapered, and then the rest of it we're just going to take down to fit. How are we going to do that? We're going to find out by going to the bench.
12 seconds later.
All right, a couple of things I forgot to mention about the shaft. Number one, it has a unique trim code. And the shafts go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 wedge. And each one of those categories, it's 0, half, 1. So in this instance, I've already trimmed them down. I had to take one to a half, one to an inch, another one to 0, another one to half. So it's not your standard trim code, so you got to be wary of that. All right, I already did one. I did the 8 iron because I didn't have to trim everything off. Now I have the 9 iron. 9 iron has this really cool relief on the back and a killed leading edge. It's really quite nice looking iron. So what we're going to do is we're going to cone the tip here and see where it fits. This is basically a big trial and error method. Now normally I would use my ventilation, but it's very, very noisy. So we're going to try this a little bit at a time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cone it by leaning into it at an angle, and then I'm going to come into it straight, and I'm going to try and see how it fits. Okay, so I have just a little bit of a cone here, and we're going to see if it goes. And you see how it stops right there. Now the cool part here is you work it back and forth, and you see there's a shiny spot, and this is where it's hitting, meaning that's where I have to start removing the material. Now the next step is, did I take enough off and am I deep enough? So I use this as a depth gauge, and I got to get just beyond where the paint is already, so I'm not done yet. So we're going to go back, and so do this, and now I'm shiny at the bottom, meaning that I need to take a little more off the top or the cone area. There we go. There, so I remeasured it, and after I sanded it some more, this is the very end of it, so we're good to go there. Okay, much like the installation, we're going to go really fast on this one. Pay attention to the technique of coning it in there and doing the testing, and you'll figure it out. Alright, so what's the difference here in a normal installation? In every case, you have to abrade the tip. The reason why you abrade the tip is so the epoxy has something to latch onto, so it can hold into and bond against the shaft as well as into the hosel. That's the reason why you see some of those lips and grooves where people think that they're threads. That's the reason why you do that. Before you put it on there, you want to make sure it's clean. No, don't wipe it down with acetone. Just wipe it down with a paper towel, your hand, and wash it off later, something along that lines. You want to make sure that there's no chunks of the graphite that are on it. You want to make sure that the fit is nice and firm. I don't necessarily mean super tight, but firm tight is a really good space to be. Now, does it have to be? Well, that's a good indicator. If you had a 355 and you put it in a 370, it'd wobble around. Far too much. No, you can't put a bunch of glue in there to make sure that it fits. It'll eventually wobble itself out and go flying down the fairway, and you'll be embarrassed. Use a shim, right? Use a shim in order to take up that space. That is more than acceptable. But your fit you want to have is a little tight. Now, on these particular hosels, I think that the taper was a little bit longer than what average would be seen. So even on normal ones, I would imagine they're carving up the tips just a little bit to get them in there. So hopefully you like what you saw. I got to glue them together so we can get back to getting these Texas clubs back to West Virginia. And hopefully you like what you saw. If you got any questions, put them in the show notes below. Remember to like and subscribe, watch the live stream, and let's see your scores go low.